and welcome to the podcast. I am Angelie.
And I'm Sarah. Together with our team, we are Mountain Point Academy.
We are so excited to share insights into education with you and hope that you can find value in these conversations geared toward fostering lifelong learners. Let's talk. This week on the podcast, we have guest Aubree Childs with us. Born and raised under extremely adverse conditions, Aubree was able to defy the odds and forge her own path. Her resilience in the face of adversity has helped turn her into the passionate advocate that she is today. Her early passions included singing and performing, and she has developed a phenomenal skill at fostering friendships with people from all walks of life. In 2006, Aubree expanded her college studies to Mortuary Science. The incredible nature of the human body has always intrigued her, and she has a talent for easing the grief of families in their hardest times. Through it all, Aubree has continued to pursue her singing. She has performed the National Anthem for major events like PBR, Hendo Fight nights, and the Legacy Fighting Alliance. She has contributed her vocal talents to projects like Perfect Harmony on NBC and the MusiCares tribute to Dolly Parton. After the tragic loss of her mother in 2015, Aubree was introduced to Jiu Jitsu, and it changed her life profoundly. The emotional and mental benefits were immediately apparent to her, and she gained an intense desire to share that benefit as widely as possible. This, combined with Aubree's passion for charity, inspired her to found the Fight Therapy Foundation with a core mission to see Jiu Jitsu considered as a viable form of mental and physical therapy. Her goal is to provide the option to every women's shelter and youth care center that she can. This conversation was so interesting, and we loved having Aubree on. So let's dive in, and you can hear her amazing story and all about the passion that she has for Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and how it has impacted her life. Hey, Aubree, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you today.
Hi, good to see you guys.
You too.
So can you go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are, what it is that you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name is Aubree Childs, and I am the founder of a nonprofit called Fight Therapy Foundation. And our goal is to get jiu-jitsu acknowledged as a form of therapy. Eventually, we would like it to be paid for by insurances, and we would like to get it into the judicial system. So instead of kids or adults being court ordered to like AA or other programs that they have talk therapy, treatment centers, rehab, they will get court ordered to go to a gym. So that's our biggest goal. Yeah.
What made you start this? Like, where did your interest in jiu-jitsu start? And just kind of tell us a little bit about your story, your journey, on how you, maybe when the idea was formed, or like what led to this, and now where you're at now with it.
Okay, so I grew up in the judicial system. I got my first probation officer when I was 11 years old, and I stayed active on probation until I was 17. So I had been court ordered to pretty much every program that there was. I actually had started counseling when I was 7 years old, and so talk therapy. And when I got put on probation, I was court ordered to clean up trash at schools, on the side of the freeway. I was court ordered to house arrest. I was court ordered to AA meetings. Oh my gosh, I cleaned up horse poop. I can't even think. I did it all. I think there was like 2 programs that I actually didn't do. And I remember as a kid thinking, like, why are they having me do this? Like, this doesn't work. Because the people believe, in my humble opinion, that we're not disciplined, which is why we're getting in trouble. but it's not true. My mom was very clean. My stepdad was very strict. Like, it's not true. We are disciplined. Some of us are disciplined, some of us aren't, but some of us are. And we're lacking love. So I remember I lived in a small town, and we didn't have anything to do. So if you didn't have money to do sports or anything, basically your other option was drugs. Just stay busy. And so I remember thinking all these things when I was a kid, like I can't, and I wanted to play sports so bad. Like I was very active, and my mom didn't have the money, and she would sign me up and then take me out the day before it started because she'd have to pay a bill. And I'd always be devastated. And I always wanted to be active, but I didn't have the money to. So then I decided to pursue a singing career and I got pretty far. And then my mom killed herself, and somebody that was 7 years ago. And my dream place to go was Brazil. That was like my dream destination. And so my now ex-husband decided after my mom died to take me so that I could just get away. And he took me to Brazil. And my friend was like, do you want to go to a jiu-jitsu class with me? And I was like, you can't go to Brazil and not do jiu-jitsu. And so I went, and it was amazing. And it was like instant Prozac. It was like all these answers to all these like programs that I had ever like been put in, was like, there was an answer for me, and I was like, I have to give this back. I have to give this back. I'm not the only one that feels this way. And so I started talking to people, because I love to talk to people, and I would find their stories out like at the gym. And one time I remember there's this girl, and her body is like perfect. She's my friend. And I was like, oh my God, how many times do I have to work out a day to look like you? And she's like, girl, I don't come here to look like this. She's like, I come here to stay at a jail. And I was like, me too. Like, I was like, okay, like I use it for because I'm naturally like more angry and aggressive. So it calms me down and it keeps me sane. And so the more I started listening to people's stories, the more I realized, wow, people are actually here for their mental health.
Yeah.
Not
necessarily.
They're not here for a sport. They're not here to work out. They're here because this guy wants to kill his wife, and this guy wants to, that they're here because they're trying to stay sane. And it's the weirdest thing. I want to do, there has been studies, but I want to do more and get more like information. But jiu-jitsu specifically like does something. And here's the thing, here's what I have, the only way that I've come to like, without doing any studies, but for myself, is you're on the brink of dying all the time. And so like, have you ever like slipped on ice and your like life flashes before your eyes?
Yes.
And then,
yeah, I know that feeling.
Like,
yes.
And then like the rest of the day, or you almost get into a car accident and you're like, and then you like, and then the rest of the day is just like great. You're like so grateful, and you're like, I didn't die. Like I almost died and I didn't die. And it's that like, and that it's that feeling. And it's like, so it's like that. It's like you're constantly at that moment, and you have to trust people. You have to trust that when you tap, they're going to let you go. That's scary, like, and people don't understand the power of those kinds of things. And then also you get this community, and you get this sense of community. And it's like, and I've talked to a lot of people, and they're like, I don't know what it is about wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but the community stays together. Like it's the only sport that I've seen people stay together for a long time. So I don't know if you guys know this, but in jiu-jitsu, it takes you 10 years just to get 10 to 13 to get just a black belt.
I didn't know that.
And then there's a coral belt, and then there's a red belt. So it's a lifelong journey. Like, I think people get red belts at like 85 years old. Like, and like our coach will get his coral belt at 65, and then I think he'll be 85 when he gets his yeah. So it's like it's a lifelong journey. So like I've talked to people, and they're like, tell me about, you know, like if I donate money to you, like give me a time frame of like what I'm helping them with. And I said, a lifetime. And they said, well, I want like a time frame. And I said, that's your problem. When I tell you, give me $80,000, I'm going to put your loved one in a treatment center for 30 days. That makes you feel good. But that's not realistic. You can't overcome addiction and heartache and depression. These things are from when you're itty bitty. You can't give me 30 days and fix you. You need to come and be around and be supportive and be loved and be forever. Like it's not an overnight thing. It's not a 30-day thing. And which makes it really hard for fundraising, because people want a date. They want me to tell them in 7 days your loved one will get better. And that's not realistic.
Yeah, I think we live in a society that's all about quick fixes or magic pills.
Yeah,
but it's going to take work and dedication.
And you're going to be terrified.
Yeah.
You're going to be terrified. Getting on the mats is one of the scariest things ever, which is why it's so important to go to a gym that is like respectful, and, you know, because there are people that can ruin. I have a situation, and I'm so grateful that I had such a good experience first with jiu-jitsu, so that, because if I would have walked into this one gym my first time, I would have never went back. You know, and I'm so grateful that I had the ability to compare it to like, no, you're a problem. This is, and you know what? I'm not the kind of person though that like blames things for, like, you know, a lot of people blame church for when people are, you know, like they blame God or whatever when people get this, or they blame, you know, McDonald's when something, like, I've never been that person. So like, I don't ever take the thing, and like nothing can take me from the thing. So like nothing can take, like no one can act crazy about God and take God from me, or no one can act crazy. Like, I don't, like, you're not God to me. You know what I'm saying? And you're not jujitsu. Like, jujitsu is jujitsu. You know what I'm saying? So like, if you act poor, I don't judge the thing based on
your actions.
Your action. Yeah. So, so it's, it's so crazy. I don't know how to explain it, but for me, it's like instant Prozac. It's like, because sometimes people don't, especially people who are traumatized, they don't know how to say what they're feeling, or they're not allowed to.
Yeah.
There's cultures where you're not allowed to have feelings. So you go, no, please. So you go and you, hold on. So if there's something that you're not allowed to say at home, it gets it out and you don't have to talk about it. It's like the unsaid. And so for example, I have this girl, and she is like so timid, like, oh my God, like the sweetest, timid, you know, probably biggest pushover. She's probably been taken advantage of her whole life, you know. And it took me, oh gosh, I don't know, a year maybe to get her to train. Took a long time. Yeah. And and she would be like, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it. And she would always sit. And I was like, you're here anyway, just come. And she would like, no, I'm going to. And I finally got her to, and I don't know, maybe like a month in, I roll with her, and I was like, and she's like this beast. And I was like, who are you? Where did that come from? And she's like, you brought it out of me. She's like, I didn't know I had that. So as much as people use it for anger management, which that would be a dream of mine to get it instead of court ordered as anger management to get jiu-jitsu trained or court order. My God, that would be dream come true. Because I don't know who's ever counted to 10 when they're in a fit of rage, but whatever. I'm like, or we could just choke each other and see how that works. Okay. So yeah. So
hence the name fight therapy.
fight
right?
therapy.
You're
Yeah.
fighting it
Yeah.
out. You're
So,
getting it
yeah.
out.
Yeah. And it's a safe environment, and it's, you're with people that you can trust, and and I know that it sounds crazy. There's a really beautiful article. It's called Finding Peace in the Violence. And it's the most beautiful thing, because a lot of people, and that is our hurdle. Our hurdle is people see fighting and they think, and they have a negative opinion about it. Do you?
Well, so my husband loves Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, right? Like he loves it, and he loves UFC and like MMA, all the things. And yeah, I see like, this is violence. Like, what is this? And he keeps having these conversations with me about, no, it's about the discipline. Like it's an art. It's not about, I want to hurt this person or I want to be violent. It's more about like the mastery of the mind and kind of mastering the techniques and just being like, finding kind of like that little girl, finding that power inside of you that you didn't know. And so he's been trying to convince me to like train with him. And
you need to.
I know. And we were dating, and he's like, will you just spar with me one time? And I was like, sure. And so we were like sparring, and I had the gloves on, and he's like, hey, punch me in the face. And I'm like, I'm not going to punch you in the face. Like, you're my boyfriend. Like, why would I punch you in the face? By nature, I'm just not the person that's like, pop you in the face. Right. And so he kept kind of like egging me on a little bit, where he would like, I'd throw a jab and he'd dodge it. And I was like, and then I was getting mad.
Yeah.
So then I did. And I remember I just went, flop. And he's like, and I literally
felt so good.
I punched you in the face. it was crazy. And he's like, see, but and he was so excited. He's like, you did it. That's amazing. And he's like, now if you're ever in a scenario, like if you can't punch me, you're not going to punch someone if you have to protect yourself type of thing.
Exactly.
And so anyway, so
you're uncomfortable here. You're not going to defend yourself. And that's the God's honest truth.
Yeah. And so it is interesting to hear it, from somebody else that's kind of like in that world daily, because I've been hearing that, but I do, like, I grew up in a household where it was like, hey, we don't do violence. Like, we don't play the violent video games. We don't fight. We don't punch. We don't, so to me, that all equates to, hey, let's avoid that, because I mean, my brother played hockey, and that has some violence in it too.
Yeah, that's violent.
But that was a sport.
Yes.
A traditional sport, whereas this is obviously a sport, and it is about the mastery. So can you kind of walk us through that? Like, you've explained, obviously you're passionate about it. We can see that it's like changed your life and helped you, and you're helping these kids. Yeah. Kind of walk us through that process of, you said it's like an instant Prozac. So what does it do for the mind? How is this beneficial for people?
So first off, we all have like I don't know the word, but like a barbaric instinct. Like, we all have a fight or
flight, right?
Yeah, we all have this. And I just watched this interview with this guy on Tom Bailu, and I recorded it so that I can rewatch it again and again and again, because he talks about it, because he specifically talked about jiu-jitsu, and he's like, we have this thing, and I'll just summarize for now, but I'm going to get it to where I remember exactly what he said so that I can quote it, because I was like, yes, this. We have a barbaric thing, and we're told to suppress it, just like you said, your house. Hey, we don't hit, we don't. But how many people love to roughhouse? Yeah. Brothers love, I mean, I love to roughhouse too, and I'm a female, but brothers, it's like a natural thing, right? Mm-hmm. And that is the biggest, the hardest thing we have to overcome in the gym, is we telling these kids that they can do those things to each other, and they're like, what? Because their parents will always tell them they can't, right? And especially because boys and girls compete for up until 12 years old against each other. And so when you tell these little boys that they can choke this little girl, it's really hard for them because it's like crazy for them because their moms have told them, hey, we don't hit little girls. We don't. And of course we don't in jiu-jitsu, we don't hit. So it's different. We just choke and do like arm submissions and
holds and stuff.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
But I feel like the difference though, Aubree, is like, it's not like you're just going in doing this to some random person on the street. Like this is in a controlled, safe environment, like you said.
And that's the point.
Yeah. And you're training like you guys are training hard every day to learn these techniques to do it safely when you're rolling with, somebody in your gym, but you're also learning something that can carry over to real life should you ever be in a situation, right?
Yeah. So here's the thing. Anger is what? Why do we get mad?
We feel like maybe somebody wronged us or there was an injustice, or I don't know, maybe we're just having a crappy day. I don't know.
Right.
Many reasons.
Anger is a response because we're not getting what we want. Anger is a response because we're not being understood. We're not being like, if I try and say something and someone's just not hearing what I say, I will get irate. Like, I'll just be like, listen to me. Like, you're not hearing right? So I was not the smartest kid I'm not the brightest star in the sky. And so for me early on, I learned that anger worked. I can't battle you with my words because there are people that are really smart and they can say things just to win because they're knowledgeable. And it doesn't make it accurate. It's just, they sound really smart. And so people believe them. And so I would get in trouble for things that because I couldn't defend myself using words. And so I learned early on that I could hurt you. I was strong. And your words are powerful, but my strength is more powerful. And I would win no matter what, because if you were in the hospital or something, I would win. And that is not somebody that I want to be. That was as a kid, right? That's what I had learned. And so what jiu-jitsu did for me was there is somebody always bigger and stronger and more capable. And here's the thing. A lot of people think they know how to fight because they street fight, and it is not true. Like no, you can't. Like just because you could think, because you could pull some hair or something, when you're technically trained, it's a whole different thing. And so I'm going to give you just my personal story. I walked in the gym. I'm pretty strong. I've always been told I'm strong. And, if I couldn't beat you up when I was a kid, my friends could. And I had this confidence about no one ever messed with me because they were afraid of me. And so I walked in this gym like that, and I was like, which it's hilarious because so many people do. People are like, I don't want to roll because I don't want to hurt anybody. And I would go, you won't hurt anybody here. Like, just because you find the little guy to beat up on the street doesn't mean you're going to win in here. You trust me. My little 11-year-old right there is going to beat you up. Yeah, she's going to beat your 20-year-old self. So, and that's what happened to me. So I walked in this gym and I'm like, super like, I'm so tough. And the coach goes, here, I'm going to have you roll with this 13-year-old little girl. And I was like, okay. And she just like, she handed myself on a platter. Like, she kicked my trash. And I was like, sold. And
I'm sure that was humbling in that moment, right?
And that's the thing, is people get humbled. And even when you get really tough and really good, there's always someone better. Like last week, my boyfriend came home and he's like, oh my gosh, I saw so-and-so. And he's the number 5 in the world. And he goes, I've never seen him submitted so easy. He's like, it was crazy, but the #1 wrestler came to that gym in the world.
Hmm.
Someone's always going to be better. Someone's always going to be. And so even if you start to get cocky, and even if you get cocky for a couple years and you're like, oh, I'm so good, which this guy's not, by the way, he's not, he's so humble. But even if he decided to be, he was just humble, you know? And so you can't ever get cocky. In fact, gyms will say, leave your ego at the door. That's kind of a jujitsu.
We talk a lot about, like, here just on our podcast and just within the school, of just like having this growth mindset. So I feel like it kind of aligns with that, where if you think you've arrived, you have another thing coming. Like it's not like that stagnant mentality of like you're just going to train until you get to that point where, okay, now I'm done. Like it's constant growth, constant practice, and you can always get better. And I think that's such a healthy thing to have, that kind of mentality, whether it's in your work or your sport or something like this, jujitsu. Like, I don't know, it's kind of cool.
No, it's true. We have people come in and they'll say, when do I get my first belt? When do I get my first stripe? And I'll say, are you here for that? Or are you here to actually learn to defend yourself? Because no one's going to care if you have a purple belt on when they're raping you. No one's going to care when they want to rob you if you have a purple belt on. Probably that's not going to mean anything to any of them because they probably don't train, you know? And I'm like, stop worrying about the colors and the grading, and be here to better yourself, because you're going to become a better you if you really do this. And it's overcoming fear. When you get into these, it's scary. It's terrifying. You get into these positions and you're like I said, you have to trust. And if you've gone through any trust issues, that's so hard. For me, I really wanted to be there. So, because it was the first thing that ever helped me in my life. And so, I didn't grow up with respecting people, you know, I didn't have a lot of guidance. And so, you know, I wasn't very respectful. And it was the first time that I had respected someone, not only because they could have killed me, but which they wouldn't have, but I wanted to be there. And I got yelled at a few times, and I got, hey, get off my mats. Hey, go home. And I was like, oh, I got to change me because I don't want to go home because I love this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, something you said earlier kind of really struck a chord with me too, because it's like, you know, as you mentioned, like the belts and the success and achieving these marks. And I think in society and as humans, we tend to play this comparison game and defining success of like a status or what we've arrived at. Mm-hmm. But really it's about, like you said, kind of who are you becoming as a person? Really, that's ultimately what matters. And right. So why are we defining success as, oh, hey, you're a corporate person, or hey, you've earned this black belt, like you're better than me. But really it's like you look at the individual person, and who you are and how you treat others should really be the biggest measure of success, versus this superficial status of, oh, hey, you are a billionaire, so you must be better than everyone, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of an interesting, like, that's a discipline that's associated with like jiu-jitsu.
So I love that you say that, because that is exactly, there's a podcast and they say, you know, we're making champions on and off the mats. And you'll hear a lot of jiu-jitsu people say that, because jiu-jitsu relates to life. Like, you get in these situations and it helps you in real life, which is kind of which is where I was going with the, you know, the mental health, is it puts you in these situations so that when you're out in the real world, you can now critical think. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm in a hard spot. I've been in here. I'm uncomfortable. How do I breathe? How do I calm down so that I can be productive in moving forward? Because that's what it does. We put you in the most horrible situations so that you learn how to breathe. You know, we have people start and they're like, and they tap, and you're not even, excuse me, you're not even doing a submission, but you're laying on their face and they freak out. Mm-hmm. Right? And they're like, how do you even overcome that? And I'm like, you just coming, and then you learn, I'm okay. I'm uncomfortable, but I'm okay. Yeah. Which is what we were talking about before, right? With the business.
Right.
I'm uncomfortable. This is uncomfortable. but I'm okay. I breathe. I learn to breathe. 2 seconds. Sorry, guys. So that is like exactly what we're teaching. We're teaching how to overcome uncomfortable situations so that you can learn how to breathe and be better. And so like one of the things that I was saying, going back to someone's always going to be better, is you learn how to not judge people. And so you're calmer. And then then you build a confidence. So when people are mean to you, you go, you have no idea what I'm capable of. And it keeps you calm. So for example, my first competition, again, I've learned all these things the hard way. My first competition, I go in and, my first competitor is, she's shaved her head and she's all tatted up. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die. And I won.
Wow.
And then my next match, it was a little girl. She looked like you, Ange. She's like all cute. Her hair's in a ponytail. She's all petite. And my whole team was like, oh, you got this. And I was like, I got this. Yeah, I think in a minute or minute and a half, she had me in an armbar. Yeah, like.
Yes.
So maybe I need to try jujitsu then, so I can be that person that's underestimated.
Exactly. So I underestimated her based on her appearance, right? And how often do we do that in this world?
A lot.
Always.
Yeah.
All the time. And now I know, from that moment on, I now know I don't ever judge anyone based on what they look like, because I have no clue what they're capable of. Why? Because not only did I have that happen, but the first time I walked in that gym, he paired me up with a 13-year-old that just
annihilated you.
Annihilated me. Not just like, oh, cute. And I was genuinely trying. Like, it wasn't like I was like, oh, let her have this. Like, I'm literally trying to beat the crap out of a 13-year-old and it's not working. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like and it's so cool. So what we'll do is we'll get some of these more like, advanced from another gym to come in our gym, because it's new, and to show them, because people will be like, oh, don't put my daughter up against that guy, he's so big, or they'll complain. They'll complain a lot, and we're like, that's the point. The point is
make you uncomfortable
to teach you
what you're capable of,
because it's not going to be some little girl that's going to rape you or hurt you.
Yeah,
it's going to be someone like this little boy. And so they complain. And so we bring people in to prove that they're making excuses. One time I had a parent, I'm not the classiest business owner. And a parent came in and he goes, he put my son with that big kid. And he's like, that's not fair. He's not going to win. And I go, what you're saying is your son's jujitsu sucks. And that's okay. It's normal. It's going to suck. And I'm like, okay, that's probably not the classiest customer. But, so I have a friend, and he's itty bitty. He's itty bitty. He's smaller than me. And I have a picture. He's a black belt. And he won. There's an absolute division. They go up against all different sizes and weight classes and everything. And there's this guy, and he's giant. I don't know, 450 pounds, maybe big. I mean, giant. And he and my friend wins. And I use his picture all the time. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I posted it on Facebook before, but I use his picture, and I tell people, I said, this is the nature of the sport. The whole reason this martial art exists is because Helio Gracie was this tiny guy, and he taught other little people how to take on the bigger opponent, so that people didn't get harmed that were little like him, that weren't capable physically of harming a bigger opponent. I was like, you're asking us to like not be what we are. You can't do that. Like the whole point is to put you up against that guy to teach you that you're capable.
Yeah.
And that this martial art really works. And now, of course, it's considered a sport too. I like to focus on the martial art part of it because for me, it is mental. I don't do it for a workout. I do it because it is my counsel. It's my therapy. It genuinely is my therapy, which is why it's called fight therapy. I don't take medication. I don't do things like that. And talk therapy does not work for me. So for me, I actually have to go there to stay sane and focused. And the most amazing thing is you can usually find a gym that you can, go to at any time of the day and, and get it out. And, I can't wear as a therapist, you have to wait 2 weeks. You have to, and here's my personal opinion again, words are powerful. And if you're constantly going in and rehashing why your life sucks that's a problem for me. We should be building them up, giving them things to do to make them better people, not allowing them to talk. So in treatment centers, they have to do 2 hours of therapy, or I'm sorry, I believe 4 hours of therapy a day. And we just got in a treatment center that was allowing us to be 2 of those 4. So the therapist wrote off 2 hours for us, and then he would do the other 2 hours. And I'm not saying some people don't need talk therapy. I mean, sometimes I need to talk, right? But I'm not mad at the same thing that I was mad at in 2 weeks. Does that make sense? Like if I don't get it out now, like I don't want to wait 2 weeks to tell you what I was mad at, because I probably don't even remember, And then also if I'm constantly talking about how bad my mom sucked, or how bad my dad sucked, or how bad my husband is, or blah, 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 blah. It's making you focus on that, right? Instead of doing something positive and saying, hey, do you know how beneficial it is to eat healthy for your brain? Like that'll fix a lot.
Yeah. So it's like, there's a time and a place for things, but what you're doing is maybe underappreciated or not even thought of as like a viable option for therapy. So just because we're getting close on time here, and I want to respect everyone's time, but to shift gears a little, I just kind of want to talk logistically, like what it looks like. You have a nonprofit organization. You work with individual families, it sounds like, and also maybe residential treatment centers. Tell us a little bit about our audience right now could be administrators or executive directors at a treatment center, or could be parents of struggling teens. So how does what you do fit in with those two spaces?
So right now, we are currently we lost our facility. I let it go during COVID. And we're currently trying to get another facility donated to us through the city. And then, and so right now we're just going to treatment centers. So we have travel mats and a trailer, and we just go there. Usually they house about 6 people. And not all, they're not required to do it. It's like, hey, we're going to have this new thing in here, come and see. And we've had incredible feedback. Like we have 2 kids that had been in a treatment center for a whole year. And they said, I've learned more about myself, and I've grown more in these 2 classes than this entire year in this program.
Wow.
Yeah. So I know it works because I was that kid, right? Like I was that kid. So you have to find these kids that what is working for us, right? And it's not going to work for everybody. Like I said, there's going to be someone's going to love yoga, someone's going to, there's going to be something for everybody, but there should be an option. And a lot of these kids in treatment centers are angry, right? And it's a great outlet for them and to do something positive, and or timid.
Yeah.
And it's great to give them this confidence, because a lot of people use drugs or get depressed because they're not allowed to talk. They don't know how to talk. So they're fighting themselves every day because they don't have the confidence, because they're not allowed to, right? So it also gives them that. And so right now, we don't have an actual facility. We're currently just going into people. We do privates. Our coach is stationed in a gym. Our friend has allowed him to be in his gym right now. So our coach is actively teaching every day in a gym. And so if people do call for us, we send them over there for right now until we get our facility again. And then other than that, we're traveling. What I would say is, if you're not in our area and you do want to train, find a gym, but get a referral. Don't just go to, because, like anything, people can abuse their power. People can, it happens in everything. It happens in businesses. It happens in churches. It happens in schools. It's anything, right? So get referrals to people who have good, trusted gyms that know, that these people are in it to win it. A lot of people use jiu-jitsu as a form of therapy. There's a Instagram. It's called Jiu-Jitsu Saved My Life. Oh. There's a podcast called BJJ Mental Health by Gustavo Dantes. It's incredible. Sorry about my little child there.
You're good.
And so all these things, there's a book. Hold on, let me grab it. Hold on. Transforming Trauma with Jiu-Jitsu. Oh. So it's a guide for survivors, therapists, and jiu-jitsu practitioners to facilitate embodied recovery. So that's a good option for your listeners, because, like you said, they could be administrators, they could be skits for everybody. So this, there's an article called Finding Peace in the Violence. Go read that. We really, what it's gonna it's gonna take testimonials, people that it's working for, and that's what it's going to take. And it's going to take all of us coming together. I don't care where you train. I just want you to train. I truly believe it can save the world. Like, I'm that crazy about it. Like, I gave up everything to fight for this. So I really believe in it. And I'm tired of seeing kids die. I'm tired of seeing kids get on drugs. I'm tired of seeing kids cut themselves. I'm tired of mental health should not be something that you have to pay for. And, which is why I'm trying to do mine for free, but, or get it, covered by insurance, because it shouldn't be something that and this shouldn't be seen as, extracurricular. Like, this literally can save your life. Like, there's so many testimonials on people who it has saved, and of course, if you look hard enough, you can find people that, it didn't work for and they ended their lives too. And that's real life. So, but for the majority of these people, it is working for a lot of people. And it's just going to take all of us coming together to show it and change the opinion of, the people, and trying to undo minds like Ange. And so I'm excited for her to train so she can see that we're not just.
My husband will be very excited to hear how this podcast interview went, because I'll have to be like, all right, you have another advocate on your side.
Yay! And then I can't wait to see you train.
And well, that's the beauty of it. He's been trained in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, so I can just train at home, right? I don't need to find it.
That's what I'm saying. I'm excited to see you train.
Yeah. So
roll out those mats and choke your husband. I'm serious. Listen, when my boyfriend and I fight, I'm not even kidding. When we go to the gym, they're like, you guys are fighting today, huh? And I'm like, yeah. And then we leave, we laugh the whole time, but like my face, like I have this look on my face, like I'm gonna kill him. And people are in the gym are like dying because they know that I'm like genuinely trying to hurt him, but he's a 4th degree black belt. So I'm not doing well. And but I'm genuinely like angry, and they can tell. And then he laughs because it's hilarious because I'm really trying, and he knows how cute that is because he's so strong and technical. And then the people at the gym just think it's funny because they see how upset I am. And then we just all end up laughing. And that's the thing is people,
and that's therapy right there.
It is. That's all it is. And there's endorphins that are released. There's oh my gosh. Dopamine.
I love that it's like this community too, where it's like the camaraderie of, like you said way early on when we first started talking, is like people just need to feel loved, and like people are desperately, like teens especially, trying to find their place and feel like they fit in and find that community, and they might not be getting it at home. And this is such a great outlet for that, and a community of people that are just trying to accomplish the same thing. And I love that.
Yeah.
So
where can people find you, Aubree, if they want to learn more about?
All right. So my website is www.fighttherapy.com. And then we're on Instagram and Facebook at Fight Therapy and Fight Therapy Foundation.
Okay.
I am not the best at posting, but I try. I post more on my you guys know. They're like, why don't you make posts on your? And I'm like,
it's tricky.
It is. It's a hard, and because I'm still transferring, because I still sing, right? So it's hard to do the both, and then So but I do what I can to. But that you can find me, and you can always message me there and ask, if you want us in your facility, we would love to come and do a demonstration and just see how your kids or your adults like it and what they think about it. And I want to tell one quick story. We went to a treatment center, and it was actually cannabis okay. Cannabis was okay because we're in California. And all the guys came, and they were rolling, and every single one of them was like, oh, I gotta stop smoking, because they loved fighting and they couldn't do it because they couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And I said, look at that. I was like, no one had to tell them to stop. No one had to, but they wanted to do something because this is fun, and they wanted to be better at it, and they knew they couldn't be better at it because they couldn't breathe. And so they were mad that they couldn't breathe because they wanted to keep going, and they couldn't keep rolling because, right? And that's what it does. It makes you want to eat healthy. All kids, we have kids come in super overweight, and they lose weight like that. And they're like, I don't know who my kid is. I offered him sweets, and he's like, no, I need vegetables. And I was like, because you want to be good. Yeah. And in order to be good, you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah. Well, and the younger that kids can learn that, the better off we'll be as a society. Because
no one has to tell you, because they want to do it. It's them. The parents don't have to do it because, we had a kid that started drinking a lot of water because he passed out on the mat because he was so, he was dehydrated. So now he's like, and I was like, he learned life the hard way, but look, how many times have you told him to drink his water and it's not working?
Right. He realized he needed to.
And he needed to because he wanted to do what he was doing.
Yeah.
Because he cared, which is the same reason. Sorry, my son. Which is the same reason why I started having respect, was because I wanted to be there, and I got threatened to get kicked out several times. And so I was like, they're like, know your place. And I'm like, yes, I will. Give me a second. But it took me a minute because I had, I grew up with no respect. So I was like, if you could just give me a second to learn that, that'd be great. But that's the thing, is when you love something, why do we do what we do in this world? People don't get in trouble because they usually don't want to hurt their family. They don't want to embarrass their family. They don't want to lose the house that they have. They don't want to lose the family that they have. When you don't have any of that to care about, you don't, right? So when you find something that you care about, you're like, oh, I don't want to lose this community. I don't want to, I finally have this place. You start reacting like a normal human being, right? So
for sure. Awesome. Well, we'll put all that information in the show notes so people can find you, the book you mentioned, the article. We'll kind of link it all there so people can check it out for themselves. And if you're interested in jiu-jitsu and want to learn more, reach out to Aubree on Instagram, Facebook. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer your questions. And Yeah, thanks for coming today, Aubree. You helped us understand it all a little bit better.
Such a great conversation. It was really great, Aubree.
Thank you. I'm excited to train with Ange. I can't wait to choke you, Ange.
I don't know. You scare me. So I might need to train for quite a while before I'd face off against you.
You might have a little inner beast that you don't know about. I'm sure you do.
I probably do. Maybe all that suppressing everything will just be like unleashed.
You're gonna love it when you're gonna like, yes.
I think you might be my husband's new best friend because he'll be like, yes, somebody finally convinced me.
Oh, yay. Yay. Yay.
Awesome.
Then we can start doing tournaments together.
There you go. Awesome. Well, thanks,
Fun deal.
I love you. Thank you.
We hope you have enjoyed today's episode and you learned a bit more about the power of education. If you liked this episode, be sure to share it with your friends. Our goal is to get the rising generation excited about lifelong learning so they can continue to improve their quality of life, not only through formal education, but through the love of learning by exploring their talents, passions, and dreams. And if you have a student or you are a student, be sure to continue to listen for exciting Career Day episodes to help you figure out what you want to be when you grow up. And if you are on the fence about online learning or aren't sure if it's the right fit for you or your student, we are doing free consultation calls at mountainpointacademy.com/let's chat. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.